You needed time, and I gave you time. Are you ready to talk about the Furestel yet? Yeah. Glory looks troubled, more so than you've ever seen her before. Whatever memories she's dredging up must be exceedingly painful. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been looking forward to this. But yeah, it's time. Meowlissa, look. I'm about to tell you some things about myself that might change your opinion of me. It's entirely possible that you're going to hate me based on what's coming up next. I've accepted that, and if that's what happens, I sincerely believe that I deserve it. She looks you in the eye, her expression grim. So tell me, are you sure that you want to keep pushing forward with this? This is important for you, Glory. After everything we've been through, I think that we both know that. Whatever you have to tell me, I'm ready to listen. Thanks, Meowlissa. Thanks for being a friend. So when we left off last time, I had just moved from the streets of Tübingen? I can't remember how I pronounced it before. To the warm, inviting confines of Furestel. Marta and I were happy there for a little while, and Harrow embraced me as a long-lost daughter. I should probably take a moment to talk more about Harrow. He's going to be an important figure in this story. I don't know what his age was. He seemed old enough to be paternal, but young enough to hang with the kids on something like a peer level. Best guess, I'd say he was in his mid-20s. He was handsome and well-built, with a neatly trimmed beard and thick brown hair, and there was something else about him, something uncanny. Harrow had this charisma, this raw, magnetic attraction that just made people latch onto him. I saw it over and over. All it took was a few words and a pat on the shoulder, and Harrow would have a new convert. The other kids at the farm followed him around like lost puppies. As much as I loved Marta, and as much as I thought she loved me, we forgot all about one another when Harrow was around. All that we wanted was to be close to him, to be a part of his inner circle, and soon enough, we were. She joined a fucking cult. For a girl of 17, it was all terribly exciting. Harrow had these rules of living, that sounds familiar, that he would teach us, rules about self-determination and the importance of disobedience. He claimed to have taught classes at the University of Berlin, which he painted as a mix between an earthly paradise and an anarchist playground. He told us how Furestel would be the focal point of a new movement for the children of the fatherland. He told us that we were special. We ate it up, of course. We were kids. For those of us in the inner sanctum, Harrow would share even more. He had power the likes of which I had never seen. Not my father's drunken fists or my own childish experiments, but genuine, incredible power. He said that it came from the horned god, an ancient deity that he venerated. He knew about my latent abilities right away, and he offered to teach me. Naturally, I accepted. I've heard of the horned god. His followers have a poor reputation, especially among women. Here's a little annotation about the horned god, if there is one. Any bad reputation that they might have gained is well deserved, but there was more to it than that, as you'll see. Hang with me, Meowlissa. Rough waters ahead. So I became Harrow's apprentice. He taught me to channel magic and summon spirits. He taught me rituals and pagan traditions, Machiavellian philosophy, and Nietzschean ethics. Above all, he taught me to connect with his horned god, and through it I learned power and arrogance, and it was all downhill from there. For the next few years, I lived at Furestel as Harrow's enforcer and right-hand girl. I was also his sometimes wife and concubine, but that was a distinction that I shared with all of the girls in the commune, including my beloved Marta. I came to learn that she'd been his long before she met me, but by that point I didn't care. I'd embraced the rules of living. I was Harrow's creature through and through. I didn't ask questions, and I walked the path that was in front of me. Other fun facts about those years. I learned cruelty. I had power now, and my new idol encouraged me to use it. Harrow did the same. Any children who didn't pull their weight were subjected to my tender mercies, and I was anything but tender. Okay. I took what I wanted rather than asking for it. I liked it. It was fun. I also came to learn that Harrow's horned god was not the Eichenfürst worshipped by throwback cults across Germany. It was certainly a god with horns, but it came from an altogether different tradition. Care to hazard a guess? The devil? In the magically active community, we referred to it as the adversary. But yeah, same being, more or less. So my idol, the ancient deity that was feeding me my power, was the antithesis of everything that is right and good. And you know what? I didn't care. In our time together, Harrow and I committed more atrocities than I could count. At this point, I was onto all of his tricks. I knew that Furestel was nothing more than a honey trap, carefully designed to lure local children into my master's clutches. I knew that the kids who seemed resistant to Harrow's brainwashing techniques would be fertilizing the ground. I knew that Harrow's entire manifesto was bullshit. And I knew that through it all, Harrow and the adversary were laughing, because I was laughing right there beside them. I don't want to pin the blame for my decisions on anyone but me. That said, no, Glory, you were groomed. by, like... I don't want to say Satanist because that's not the proper terminology. I'm a Satanist. I am a Levian Satanist. You got pulled into the cult of a evil person, I will say. That said, I would like to posit that my father's connection to the Cruise Raiders might have helped play into my willingness to serve the adversary. Fair! In my warped, indoctrinated little brain, I equated the church with evil, so the opposite of that I figured had to be, well, if not good, then at least not totally bad. That is a fair sense of teenager logic. Yes, yeah. But I was kidding myself, of course. My new deity was the very definition of bad. Serving it made me bad. End of story. None of these prompts really convey how I feel about this. Because, okay, letting Glory get off scot-free and say it wasn't your fault isn't exactly fair. But to say that it was her fault entirely is also not fair. I guess I can say that I can't excuse the choices that she made, but I can understand why she made them, which is close to how I feel about it. Sure. That's big of you. That's big of you, Meowlissa. I genuinely mean that. Glory takes a moment to steel herself, then continues on. Anyway, one day, Harrow invited me on a field trip to Stuttgart. Oh, no. Over the years that I was at Furestil, the commune had easily doubled in size. It was thriving, all thanks to the efforts of Marta and the girls like her. Harrow would send the kids out to neighboring cities to lure in the street kids that nobody would miss. He targeted children because they were easy to indoctrinate, and because nothing makes the adversary happier than the corruption of the innocent. As we drove out to pick up the new recruits, I was already planning ahead. It was a foregone conclusion that I would pay my father a visit. The irony of a group of cruise raiders getting immolated by a genuine servant of the actual devil tickled me to no end. So when Harrow stopped to fill up on diesel, I hopped out of the van and headed out on foot to my parents' place. Harrow wasn't overly concerned about my absence. I had long since reached the point where I could assert my autonomy, and he knew that I'd be back. I wound up at my folks' place sometime around noon. I could hear the adversary whispering in my ear, telling me what to do. I had long since learned to listen to its voice. It always rewarded me with extra power when I did its bidding. It told me to knock, so I did. As the door opened, I could feel a torrent of flames welling up in the astral plane all around me. It told me to channel them into the doorway, into my father, so I did. I don't feel too bad about that. Shit. Now I feel bad about that. But of course, the person who opened the door wasn't my father. It was my mother. As I watched her flesh blacken and melt, as I heard her scream and I broke into hysterics, I heard the adversary laugh. And at that moment, I realized that it was laughing at me. I'm so sorry, Glory. Glory nods, a grim expression on her delicate face. Thanks. We're almost to the end now. Thanks for sticking with me. It was like a lever had been pulled. All at once, the bubble popped. I wasn't a powerful servant of the adversary. I was not Harrow's #1 girl. I was a ridiculous little fool who'd willingly tied her soul to the worst thing in existence. Realizing all of this was one thing. Actually fixing it was something else entirely. I knew that I had to get away from Harrow. That was the first thing to do. So I bit my lip and did my best to ignore the happy babble of the new recruits on the trip back to Furestil, and I managed to get through the ride without screaming. Once we were back at the commune, I broke into Harrow's safe, stole all of the commune's resources, and ran. I don't know when Harrow realized what I'd done, or whether he even cared. All that I know is that nobody came after me, so I kept running and running until I got to Berlin. Getting past the wall was fairly simple. You know how easy it is to obtain falsified papers. The biggest obstacle that I faced during my flight was the adversary itself. I could run from Harrow, but how do you run from something that's tied to your own soul? Let me guess. Snip, snip. The haunted look on Glory's eyes is heartbreaking. She gives you another curt, grim nod. I walked into the office of the first street doc I could find, pointed at all the biggest, bulkiest pieces of cyberware that he had on display, and told him to put them on me. He tried to upsell me on better merchandise, arguing that what I was asking for was old and inefficient, better suited to be installed in a museum than in a body. He told me that I'd be shredding my essence, and that once it was gone, I'd never be able to get it back. I stuck to my guns. After all, shredding my essence was the whole point. Gloria looks up at you. Her eyes are sunken and hollow, and the aura of loss about her is palpable. She looks like a woman who has been through hell. Literally, yes. That's all for now, Meowlissa. You've heard the tale. You know why I am the way I am. You know the things that I've done, and how much I have to atone for. If you still want my company, fine. If I've lost your friendship, I understand that too. But for now, I need to be alone. I want to hug her so badly. That poor fucking girl. Fuck. God. Am I missing anything with Dante? Play dead. Oh, he doesn't know that one. I'm gonna give him a pet. Hey, Dietrich. Back when we took on Humanus, you said that you fought... Fuck. I can't just move on from that. That was... The quality of writing in this game is through the fucking roof. Glory's entire backstory is so good. Oh, man. Okay, I need a second. Alright. Back when we took on Humanus, you said that you fought in the Night of Rage. I'd like to hear more about that. He nods and fishes in his jacket pocket for his flask. Alright, boss. We can talk about it. So I already mentioned that Berlin's punks and anarchists joined forces to fight off the racists, right? And after a long, bloody fight, we beat them. What I didn't mention is how I figured into all of this. I'm an anarchist at heart. Always have been. But at the time, I fit squarely into the punk camp. I was 32 at the time. Master Kampf was still touring. Not as much as we did when we were kids, but we had a following. I guess I was sort of an elder statesman for the scene. When we rallied to fight the racists, my followers came along for the ride. Bunch of young kids, all full of piss and vinegar and the immortality of youth. I was full of that good old Dragon Slayer spirit, pissed off and itching for a fight. And so I led those kids into the fray. They waded into the riot right alongside me, yelling and screaming with their fists in the air. I don't remember a whole lot of the fight itself, boss, but I do remember the aftermath. A lot of the kids that followed me had grown up listening to my music. They had all of my attitude, Meowlissa, but none of them had my magic. And youthful enthusiasm is no defense against a knife or a handgun. I left the punk scene for all of the reasons I told you, boss. But there was a bigger reason, and I saw it in those kids' broken bodies. This road that I'm on, it leads to the grave. I've got the power to make it a leisurely trip, but make no mistake, that is where I'm headed. Those kids tried to follow in my footsteps, and they wound up sprinting ahead of me instead. Better for me to stay out of the public eye and stick to the shadows. My stint as a role model was ill-advised. Have you put any thought into what I said earlier? Yeah, boss, I have. It's an interesting idea, but there are risks. I'm thinking that this might not be the best of times to approach him about it. He's the source of my magic, remember? If our discussion turned into an argument, he could take all of that magic back in a heartbeat, and then where would we be? From what you've told me about the Dragon Slayer, I don't think he'd like the way you're talking. Since when has he ever encouraged you to back down from a fight? You've got a point there, boss. He wouldn't want me to back down, ever. Not even from him. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'll ask the Dragon Slayer about shifting priorities, I guess you'd say. Taking on some deserving organization and calling off the hunt for something more impressive than the Firewing. Of course, a fight like that would never really end. I'm never gonna bring down a corp or a polyclub all on my lonesome. He shrugs. But maybe that's not a bad thing. It'd take a lot of guesswork out of life. Yeah, that's how you say those words that are clearly on the screen for me to read. I don't know, boss. If you have any thoughts about this, I'd love to hear them. Sauerkraut would be a fucking death sentence. You've already done some damage to Humanus. How about them? Yeah, get rid of the fascists. Could they be your new white whale after we're done with all of this? Tempting. But like you said, I've already kicked the holy hell out of them. Twice. If I'm gonna do this, it needs to be a step forward. The Dragon Slayer won't be satisfied with me retreading old ground. If you want big and bad, how about Sauerkraut? They're the biggest organized corporation in the world, and they're led by an honest-to-God dragon. Well, that's certainly thinking big. Give me a second. I'll ask. I like that. He closes his eyes and concentrates. Minutes pass. Slowly, a smile creeps across his face. Dietrich opens his eyes and turns to face you. Yeah, I think that he'd like this plan just fine. That was it? That was all it took? The Dragon Slayer doesn't mince words, boss. If he didn't like the plan, he'd have told me. Dietrich's grin widens. He looks more at ease than you've ever seen him. Well, boss, I have got myself a plan and a new target to boot. That's assuming, of course, that any of us make it through our current predicament alive. You know, Dietrich, now that you've got a handle on your connection with the Dragon Slayer, you could probably reach out to your old community again. Berlin's punks could benefit from your experience. He nods. Yeah, boss, I was thinking the same thing. Maybe I could give back a bit and fix some of the damage I caused in my misspent youth. After we're finished dealing with the crisis in front of us, that is. Any updates on Alexander? Nothing new, boss. He's adjusting. It's going to take some time. Alright. Cool. Let's go talk to Blitz because we're about to go hit Az Technology. And hitting Az Technology would be very convenient for him right now. How'd that whole Emily situation work out? Can I have anything new? Yeah, well, sort of. It's mostly speculation, truth be told. So, what's the deal? Is she working with the Yazzies or what? No, I don't think so, but I do have a new lead. After our talk, I went wading into all of the Az Technology Matrix hubs that I could find. Nothing too deep, don't worry. I didn't want to set off any alarm bells. But I had a hunch that if I poked around long enough, I'd find something that might lead me to Emily. And sure enough, I did. A message from the genuine article herself. Nicely done. His face brightens. Hey, thanks, Chief. Always good to get a little recognition for my work. Puts a smile that is away. He turns his eyes down to the floor. I can tell you what her note said if you want. He presses forward without waiting for a response. It said, and I quote, sorry. Lay off, Blitz. I told you to leave me alone. You've shown admirable self-control over the past year. Please don't give up on that now. I'll be back when I can, if I can. Until then, keep away from me, for both of our sakes. So, I found her, and she wants nothing to do with me. Again. No explanations, no apologies, just a verbal pat on the head. I've shown admirable self-control. Really? She makes it sound like I'm a toddler or something. So, did you lay off, like the message said? Hell no! I wasn't gonna stand for that. What did she get off stealing from me and then acting like it was my fault? I tried to trace the message like any good Decker would. I note your use of the word tried. He nods grimly. She's good, Meowlissa. Better than I ever thought she was. I couldn't trace the damn thing. I could keep digging, though. I mean, if she noticed me doing it before, I must have been close. Now, before you say anything, I was more discreet this time. I can be subtle if I have to. Nobody noticed what I was doing, and I did find another clue. I hesitate to ask. That's okay. I'll tell you anyway. I found a connection between Emily and Saderkrub. So, do you think that she works for SK then? That she stole the encrypted data from you to give to them? Well, maybe. I don't know. It's confusing. I was also able to track down some message fragments connecting her to the Shockwellen writer. So maybe she was a Saderkrub mole. And she got close to me so that she could, I don't know, so she could profit from my decking expertise? Maybe when she told me not to steal that data, she was using reverse psychology. That's gotta be it. She must have wanted me to take it. He frowns and shakes his head. But then again, maybe she's with the Shockwellen writer, and she's screwing both the Azzies and SK over. If that's the case, then maybe she was with me because she genuinely wanted to be. He pauses for a moment, considering. Then, all at once, he seems to perk up. His chest puffs out, and he nods once, decisively. In either case, I should make an effort to find her. I mean, she's playing a dangerous game, whether she's with SK or the Shockwellen writer. Maybe she's gotten herself in too deep. She might need help. I mean, why else would she send me such a cryptic message? I think that you should go after her. She's clearly in over her head. What if she needs you? Because I'm thinking, right? It definitely seems like she's in way over her head, and she doesn't want Blitz to get hurt because she cares about him. And that might just be, you know, trope, cliche, whatever. And the game has been doing a fairly good job of twisting the tropes and cliches into something that I don't expect. However, they can't do that all the time. And with such an extended storyline, I feel like there should at least be a good ending to it, you know? You're right, of course. You are absolutely right. Besides, it's not like she can send me a distress call. Her communications are probably being monitored. I'll bet that she spent the whole past year waiting for me to come riding into the rescue. Blitz claps his hands, then rubs them together in excitement. Get set, Chief. You're about to witness an event. When my gung-ho personality and legendary skills come together, the whole world stops and takes notice. I'm sure that it does, Blitz. I can't wait to see how this plays out. You won't have to wait long. I know just the place to hit. That same Az-Technology data node that I stole the information from in the first place. I already know that I can get past the security, and my gut tells me that I'll find Emily there. Thanks for the encouragement, Chief. I knew that this was the right thing to do, of course, but you've helped me to quiet any lingering doubts I might have had. He nods at you, an expression of supreme confidence on his face. And now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a damsel in distress to rescue. Cool. Alright. Let's stock up on... Oh! Dante's with me. Neato. Can't talk to Lane. I haven't... No, I'm not gonna talk to other chick. Hey, Simi. How's it going? I don't know how much things updated around here. I'm just gonna... I'm just gonna go through this dialogue, because, okay. I mean, I'm not super interested in that specific character, so I'm not super dedicated to making all the right choices, but I also don't want her to leave the cruise bazaar, because she seems like she's genuinely troubled, you know? Hey, dude. How much money do I have? I need medical supplies. Ooh. Sell that. Probably not going to use that. Probably not going to use that. Probably not going to use that. Keep those. Sell the drugs. That is a very expensive shotgun that I have. Alright. You only have advanced? Really? Okay. And I definitely don't want to end up dying while I'm there, so... Oh, right. I completely forgot how this shit works. Can I swap these? Fuck. I want these properly... Why? Oh. Always sell these too. Okay. Add. 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 I could probably buy another health kit. Hey. Need medical supplies. I don't want a basic one though. I'll grab that. Yeah. Alright. Then I'll sell the rest of these drugs. Yep, yep. Yeah. And how much do I have left? Not a lot. Alright. I cannot get more cyberware, which is unfortunate. But I think we're good to go. I get the distinct impression that we are quite possibly good to go. I can probably improve my decking. Fuck. I could improve my decking. And that means I would have been able to help Blitz out with his thing. And I'm super, super, super fucking annoyed. Need some tech. I need a new... Wow. That's expensive. I can't afford that. Wow. Alright. Exit. Let's go do the mission, I guess. Let's get some money. Holy fuck, I'm poor. Wait. Hold on. Did I forget to grab money for a mission? Hold on. I just want to double check that I didn't forget to grab money for jobs directory. Review notes on completed jobs. No. Status of the Alice Fund. We are so close. Oh my god. Alright. I really wish I knew of some way to actually make money in this game. And I guess the answer to that is steal pay data. But I haven't really been getting any... Hold on. Let's go check with this phone box real quick, because we haven't been getting any calls from these folks. That's a little bit weird. They've gone, like, completely silent on me. Am I, like, holding on to something that they could find useful? No. Alright, let's go do this job, I guess.